Hi, everyone. It's me, Dr. Guerra, and I'm here with Odalys Jasmine this week. Yay! Super excited to have her on the show. Odalys is a fellow Central American and podcaster. Her podcast is called Hella Latino. So I'm super excited. She also works for TikTok, so that's exciting too. Oh my goodness, she has all the tea. Hi, Odalys. Welcome, welcome.
Tea here,
No,
but
yeah, no, yeah, no.
but I'm in the tea. It's brewing. I see it. I see
Oh,
it
it's
happening.
piping hot. Good, good.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Awesome. Excellent. So, yes, so each episode, I invite the guests to kind of share basically their Latina experience, like what it means for them to be Latina, their cultural background, identity, because the places that we grew up in, what generation we are, all those little details, they do make a difference in terms of like how we self-identify and how we understand our place in the world. So I'd love to hear from you if you can share a little bit.
I love this because I start every single podcast episode. How do you identify and why? And I do it on purpose to show the mosaic of Latinidad, right? Like we don't all look the same, sound the same, come from the same places. And so for me, I identify as a lot of different things. I think someone mentioned it on my podcast actually, like there are parts of my identity that are like stable, right? They're like foundational. And there's part of my identities that are like flowing. And so when I think about my foundational identity, I'm Latina. I am Hondureña through and through, first generation in every sense of the word.
Cool.
And I am from Southeast San Diego. And I say Southeast because Southeast is a whole different flair of San Diego. And I feel like people don't know about it. And they go to San Diego, y van para las playas, they go see the beaches. Pero hay todo un lado de San Diego que la gente no conoce. There's a place in San Diego that I'm like, there's culture and there's beauty and there's immigrants and there is a thriving just community of people who are bound by common struggles and common socioeconomic status. And that's what brings kind of our people together. But all those parts of my identity influence who I am and how I see the world, how I move in the world. But I think that the other identities that I'm so close to is curiosity. And that comes from being first generation because como una de primera generación, hija de inmigrantes, I feel like you don't know what you don't know. I say this often.
Totally.
You don't know what you don't know. And so I find myself curious about a lot of different things and having multiple interests and having multiple creative pursuits. If you see my resume, it's like, girl, you've done all the things all at once. But that is so part of me. Like I want to live every day like to the fullest. And I identify with creativity. I'm a creative. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. I am a storyteller. And I think storytelling comes from our people, oral storytelling. People call it cheese man. I'm like, I call it oral storytelling. Okay, we preserving.
That's right.
So that's all part of me.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. Yes, San Diego is amazing. So I did a lot of research for my, when I was in the doctoral program way back when, on Chicano Park. So I love the murals and everything. It's so beautiful. And I can totally resonate as far as like being a writer and how important, not only sharing stories about our community, about ourselves, that is so important, not only like in the written form, but through song, through poetry, oral tradition, in different shapes and ways. I think that's super cool. Amazing. Very cool. So you're from Honduras. That's fantastic.
Hondureña y la costa. So I mean, even talking about identity, right? Like there is a difference in Honduras. My family is from the Caribbean coast. And so a lot of our food, the music we listen to, el rebane, like how we are as a family, it's very much that coastal Caribbean flavor. And I always say that because I think that even within our own countries, there's so much diversity that people don't know about. And Honduras has de todo, tiene de todo. And so my family's a mezcladita de a lot of different things, but we identify so much with our Caribbean and our coastal kind of side. And so that is a big part of the culture. So catch me with plátanos and aguacate every day.
Yes. Oh my God.
Y maracuya.
Oh it's so
all the time.
Good. It's so good. I remember like as a treat, my grandpa would bring, randomly, like he would bring plátanos con crema y frijoles as a treat. Like, oh my God, so good. I still like
una baleada. Oh.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's so much good food. Like so much good
and
food.
It's terrible for you. And you cannot be on a diet being in this
well,
family. But
it's
cuidamos.
It's tough. It's tough because like everything is delicious, so it's hard to have restraint. Cool, but
Literally.
I agree with you. I think it's so true. Like depending on what part of the country, right? If someone is from La Sierra, it's different than being from the
Oh,
coast,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
versus being like very city centered, like urban, that kind
Mhm,
of thing. And
mhm.
so yeah, it's true.
O
And
sea, si nos pones
Mhm.
con una familia de Tegucigalpa, which is where the capital is, if you put us
Yeah,
with a family that's from the capital,
yeah.
they have a very, very different way of being. Like they prefer their
Mm,
pan, whereas we prefer our tortilla, or
hmm.
like they prefer black beans, or we prefer like regular. Like there's like
Yeah.
little
Little
differences,
subtle differences. Yeah,
little subtle
totally.
differences, even in like how we. So it's funny. The first time we went to, I won't say who, but we went to a family that was from Tegucigalpa, and they like
Hmm.
all sat. This is so funny. They all sat down for dinner together, and we're
Hmm.
like, "Oh, you sit at the same table? Like that's cool." like, like our side is like, "Oh, we have music playing. You can sit wherever you want."
It's
Like
kind
people
of
are
just
running
like,
around. It's
yeah.
almost like chaotic. And
Yes.
then
Oh my God,
their
girl.
their family was so
I know that's
like
I know that style. I know that style.
well
Yeah.
behaved, and you can tell they're a little bit more affluent, and I was like,
Mm,
wow, this is so different.
bueno.
And
That's so funny.
right, but I kind of love the differences because it shows
It's
again
cool.
like the
The
mosaic of
differences.
latinidad, it's so
Yeah.
different.
And to your point, so I feel like in general, right? Central America, I do go hard for Central America, especially with everything going on right now. I'm
Yeah.
teaching like courses. So UCLA has our department is Chicanic Studies and Central American Studies, right? And that was a hard
Mhm.
battle. That's a whole different conversation.
Girl,
As far as like
let's not go
fighting
there.
to get yeah,
I'm like, let's not go there.
literally fighting to get Central American Studies included. Anyway, so
Hmm.
I do go hard for Central America in general, and that's the thing is like people assume, right? People assume that there's nothing going on there, like there's no food scene, there's no art, there's no. It's like, excuse me, right? Like in other words, like the way that Central Americans are portrayed, it's so limited. And unfortunately, it's so
Yeah.
negative too. It's like, we are so much more Latin Americans, Caribbeans, etc. In general,
Yeah.
like we are that
Yeah.
really it means so much to me and I think it's so important. Like we are so much more than what people are
Yeah.
seeing on the news, the crap that people are, spreading, the lies basically. The lies. It's
All the
wild.
lies. That's a
Yeah,
big part of my platform, and it's a big part of why
mhm.
I started the podcast, because I think there's so many stories about us, and
Mhm.
when you believe and internalize those stories, you start to run away from your roots or feel like your roots are holding you back. And that happened
Yes.
to me. Like I went into this space for the first time. When I say the space, I went into college
Mhm.
for the first time. I was like meeting these people that were coming from these really great jobs and families. And
Yeah.
now that I came from an amazing family, but we didn't come from economic or even network opportunity. Like
Right.
I knew my church, and my church
The
was popping,
privileges.
but like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I didn't
Mhm.
know people that were in these offices. And I thought every person in an office was rich. Like I really looked at this space that I was in, like, oh, if I want to make it, I have to be like them. And then what I realized is I was
Mhm.
like slowly erasing myself, and it was a different
Mhm.
form of colonization, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like a body like colonization, like they were colonizing my
Yeah,
body. Like it
yeah,
sounds
there's
weird to
different
say, but
levels of colonization, absolutely.
it
It's an
was like
erasure.
I
Mhm,
was changing the way I
mhm.
spoke, and I was exchanging the hoops, which my hoops I can't do without now, but I was exchanging the
Right, yeah.
hoops for like small.
Yeah.
I was like not having long nails, and I was really trying so hard to fit
To
in. But the
fit a
thing
different
is
box,
that
yeah.
you can't fit in a box that's not meant for you. Like we're not meant for that
Amen.
box, and nor do I want to be in that box. And so a lot
Yeah.
of me, and the reason my podcast is called Hella Latina is because I was
Tell
in
us
the
so,
Bay
yeah.
Area. I was in the Bay Area while I was kind of going through this like almost identity crisis where I
Mm.
would come back home and my homegirls would be like, why are you talking like that?
What's going on? Yeah, what's
like
going
what's
on
going
with
on? And then I
you?
was like, and it was almost like
Those are good friends. Those are good friends that will tell you what's going on, right? That'll call you out.
shout out to Alexis. Shout out to
There you go.
Alexis. But
Thank
I
you,
feel
Alexis.
like it
It's
was
funny.
me feeling like I was not enough for any space. And I
Wow.
was almost like now navigating this in between. And so
Mhm.
that's what my podcast is about, is reclaiming who we are and understanding that we come from abundance. The
Love
reason
it.
our countries are poor, the reason our countries don't have the infrastructure is not because of our
Mhm.
own doing. like when you look at the history, let's talk about gold. When you look at the history of gold in Latin America, like it was so abundant on our lands that we did not see it as monetary. We had no monetary value to the gold. We saw it as religious and spiritual practice.
It belonged to the earth. Like it was not just to be taken.
And then we dripped in it. We were like, let's rock our gold, or let's have it in. And the fact that the Spanish, European colonizers came over and looked for gold and then used it to build their wealth, like our people are abundant. Our people are so abundant. And I think it's reclaiming that narrative is what my podcast is all about. Like, let's talk about the real shit, but let's also reclaim that we come from beauty. We come from beauty and abundance.
Period. Absolutely. That's amazing. And it's so exactly that, right? Like, our countries are so rich, like in natural resources, you know, artists, like there is so much amazing, you know, beauty, right? Beauty, wealth, and the wealth in not just money lingo, right? Like just a wealth of information,
like a wealth of
spiritual,
love, wealth of like knowledge,
incredible
wealth
community,
of family. Yes, all of that,
all the above. And it's so, I don't know, I find it so like frustrating and kind of sad because I feel like, man, our countries really have never been free, right? If you think about it. Why? Because it's like we went from being colonized by the Spanish and Portuguese. That's complicated, right? Because a lot of us have, it's like that, it's that conflict of like both, and it's like, oh my God, a lot of us do have Spanish and Portuguese ancestry. Why? Because of colonization. Anyway, that's a whole thing. But, and then now basically a neo-colonial experience, right? Economic issues. I feel like I see like so much leadership that does not have like the regular people at like the, what am I trying to say? They don't have the I'm stumbling my words here. That's very interesting.
That's what happens when you have
average people download. You know, right? Oh my God, yes. No, I feel like it literally, not to get too woo, I'm like, I feel like my throat chakra is being blocked right now. Like, no, but it's true. Like, I feel like there's so much leadership that does not want the people to thrive or does not have their best interest at heart. That's what I wanted to say. It's like they don't have people, you know, the regular people, the regular folks who are working and trying to survive, you know, helping their kids, doing their thing. It's like those in leadership are so freaking greedy. I hate to say it, but so many of them are so like corrupt and greedy that that's why we're not getting anywhere. You know, it's very frustrating. It's been that way. Yeah. It's been that way a long time.
And here's what I'll say, and I'm going to be very careful when I say it. I'm in a way glad that we have the president that we do, because the truth is out. Like no one can deny it. No one can
it's hard,
go against it. The truth is out. Yep. This has always been a thing. And I think as Latinos,
it's always been happening.
Deportations never stopped. Like deportations, whatever party was there, deportations were happening. Right. Is it happening in a different way? Absolutely. And it's not okay. But I think that one thing that we forget is that colonization never stopped. Colonization never ended. It just happened in different ways. And now there's laws that can pass it. And so when I say like I felt like my body was being colonized, because that is part of the system. It makes you erase where you come from so that you can fit in and be successful. But do I really want to be somebody else when I make it? And what's really important, is it the money or is it the people that surround me and the values that I hold on to, which we're going to talk about religion, but that's why I'm really big on my religion and being like more spiritual, because if I didn't have God, I would be like lost. I would be trying to fit into this society similar to the box, right? That I don't fit into, but I would be trying to fit into a box that's not meant for me. And nor do I want to fit in that box. I'm like, let me be me. Let me enjoy this life and be kind and be compassionate and be real and be an artist and be a creative and be a writer, be all the things that they said I couldn't be. And let me do it with my own flair.
I love that. I like in tarot, we call it the Tower moment. And I want to say that the star card comes right after the tarot. So literally, like, that's the way of life, is like everything has to crumble for it to rise up, right? For something new to rise up. And I think it is very painful, right? Like, you know, I would never diminish that this is a very difficult time and a very scary time for a lot of families, you know? But I kind of agree with you that maybe this is like sort of what has to happen for people to wake up and stop like ignoring. It really feels like the elephant in the room. It's like, how can we keep going like this? We can't. Truly. You know, like we can't. Anyway, it's a lot. Yeah, no, I love that you mentioned, your spiritual and religious practice. So if you'd want to share a little bit about that, that would be wonderful.
So, you're catching me at such a beautiful transitional moment in
Yay.
my life because
I love that.
I grew up Christian my entire life.
Okay.
And there was a point, I don't really remember it, but there was a point we were Catholic, or I guess we had Catholic practices.
Hmm.
My siblings remember it more than I do, but a lot of my life that I remember was all in a Christian church. And I went through so
Hmm.
many different denominations. So I went through going in the temple with a veil. And then I went
Mm.
through a moment where it was like we had to wear no makeup and wear really long skirts. And then I went through a moment where
Wow.
it was you can wear whatever you want, just like don't wear ripped jeans. And then we were not going to a church where like people dance and speak in tongues. And then now we're going to a
Yeah.
church that's so I felt like I
More
went
evangelical.
through
Yeah. Hmm.
all the different denominations within Christianity,
Uh-huh.
including Catholicism, right? But like I
Hmm.
felt like I was experiencing all these different ways of worship,
Hmm.
but one common denominator was God, right? Like you praise
Right.
God in all of it. And so the one thing that I held on to was that I'm like, sometimes I don't get the rules right, or sometimes I don't understand what the rules are for, but I
Hmm.
know that God is here and He's with me.
I love it.
And there was a moment when I was 11 years old when we lost our home. We were homeless for a while. And those are the
Oh.
moments I feel like I felt God the most because our
Mm.
family was in heavy prayer all the time. And it
Yeah.
was a moment of kind of like spiritual awakening and spiritual,
Mm.
like you had to have we had to
You
have
had to have
had
faith.
a lot of faith, like that God was
Yeah.
going to take
That's
us
really
through that
hard.
moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, as much as I was confused, because I was young enough to like understand what was happening, but I was also young enough to be a little naive. But
Mm.
there was a part of me that felt like God got us, like, we're gonna make it. And there was I sometimes joke that positivity stemmed from a place of trauma, but I'm glad that I have this like positive mindset because I think that there's a saying in Spanish, si Dios contigo, ¿quién contra ti, right? If God is with you, who
Mm.
against you?
Beautiful.
And I
Yeah.
think that was so ingrained in me that when I was 11 years old, I was like, well, God got us. Like, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, I was in college, and part of the erasure, right,
Mm.
was a lot of people that were around me were atheist. And they were like,
Oh.
oh, well, if you're like educated, you know that this is not real. And I was like, really? And I think that I was like,
The irony.
there was a part of me where I was away from the family for the first time, where I was kind of in an exploratory, like, well, what does faith look like to me? Because I'm not going to
Yeah.
church, but I would go to church and not feel like the same kind of feeling I had when I was younger. And it
Hmm.
was just me feeling like it was a different journey that I was going on. But it felt like at the time I was kind of in a worldly phase. And I'm like, well, maybe I can not go to church and see what happens. And so I
Hmm.
felt myself kind of drifting from my faith, always knowing God was there, but feeling like I'm not ready for you.
Hmm. I'll be
And
back
I was,
later. Yeah.
but it's not like, that was younger me feeling like, okay,
Yes.
well, I'm just going to take a little break, and like not knowing that it led me in a path where it was a lot of ups and downs, and it was a lot of
Mm.
like trials and tribulations. And I didn't have a place to go to when I was in those moments because I felt like ashamed, like, oh, I can't go to church
Yeah.
now. Like I can't go to church and be that person that's like only in church when I need God, like I need you to come through. So for me, it was always a journey. But now where I'm at
Hmm.
in my life,
Yeah.
it's so funny because I prayed for so long, like, God, like send me, like, bring me closer to you. That's been my prayer. Like, bring me
Oh,
closer to
it's
you,
beautiful.
whatever that means, because
I love it.
Christianity and the way it's practiced in American society is really twisted. It's really backwards. And I always felt disconnected from it. And
Yeah.
so I've been actually going back to my source, and I've been reading. So I'm reading a lot of
Good for you.
spiritual texts, and I'm
Good for you.
reading I'm reading like everything from the Torah to the Bible to, well, Torah is
Love
part of the Bible,
that.
right?
All right. Yeah.
Reading the Bible, and
Hmm.
then also reading the Quran and understanding these Abrahamic faiths. Like, where do all these faiths come
Hmm.
from? And so I'm telling you that
Awesome.
you're catching me in a really beautiful moment because
Yay.
I'm understanding for the first time for myself. And this came from what's happening in the world right now. I think to
Hmm.
understand what's happening in the world, you have to go back to spiritual texts. And to
Yeah.
understand spiritual texts, you really have to be one with God. And so I've been in a place of religiously practicing, praying every day and telling God, like, God, please help me and guide me as I'm studying where our faith comes from. And so
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
That's amazing. I love it. No, that's fantastic. It's great. It's great. You know what? I think so. It's interesting, like, right? Like and this is very common. It's, where a person will not really believe or not really into church, not really into faith, but when they have a big exam to take in school, or when someone's really sick in the hospital,
Girl.
please God, true or not true. And again, I'm not shading anybody. We've all been there, right? Like, we're human, et cetera, et
She's
cetera.
like a little shade, but
A little shade, but not shade, right? Like, I get it.
Shade,
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, we as human beings, let's be real, as human beings, we do hold a lot of that, like, ego and power, and like, we feel like we're the boss of everything, right? Until we're not. You know what I mean? Until we're not. And so, I don't know, man, things like, for example, like natural disasters, nothing puts people in their place quicker than a natural disaster. Like,
girl.
I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Like, you'll, as we get to know each other, I say it plain. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're in a time and a place where, like, we don't have time for, like, dancing around an issue, or kind of like sugarcoating thing. I'm like, no, man, give it to me raw, just whatever it is. Like,
no, I mean, 100%. I think you need, like I said it earlier, like, if to understand what's happening in the world, all over the world, is to understand spiritual texts, and to go back to biblical times, to go back to spiritual times when the prophets were around, when God, like, chose Abraham. Like, I think we need to go back to the source, because we can understand what's happening right now a lot better. And here's the thing, like, I used to fall into this trap of, like, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. But I'm like, to be real spiritual, you have to be religious. Like, here, this is the example that I used, and I literally just talked about this the other day. But I said, if you want to get closer to God, you have to yearn for it. You have to yearn to get closer to God, to your creator. And to get closer to your creator, to get closer to that relationship, you need to religiously practice it. The example that I give is my goal. I want to look good. I want to feel good. And I go to the gym for that. And I have a goal. And so I go to the gym 5 times a week. And when I'm not at the gym, I am eating healthy. I am, like, religiously about my diet.
You're committed to your health. Yeah. Right on.
That's the thing. I religiously do it. And the thing,
it's important to you.
If you want to just, like, even to bare minimum, like, if you want good teeth, you brush your teeth every day.
You gotta brush your teeth and floss.
You do that religiously, right? You're not just like, oh, it's spiritual, I'll do it when I get to it. But it's like, no, you really have to.
Consistency. No, it's true.
And this is not judgment. It's more so, like, don't fall into this trap where there's no accountability. I think that's
a big thing.
That was me. Totally. That was me in college. I'm like, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, but I was like, that was me not wanting accountability, because I wasn't really doing anything to get closer to God. I was more so like, I know you there. Okay, I'm gonna do this something. Bye. But it was like it was almost like a shame that I was feeling, and a lack of accountability that I had, because I didn't want to be accountable. I'm like, I just want to do my thing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that's been, like, over the years and the process and things like that, I'm grateful that God, at least the way that I see it or believe, that God is very forgiving. That God is incredibly extraordinarily forgiving.
I say this a lot. I'm like, God don't need us. We need him. Like, God don't need us. But true. He is so loving. He is so compassionate. He is so merciful. He's so forgiving, like, all of that totally. And more. 100%.
Totally. Yeah. And so I think, I do feel like that's a big part of our human journey is just that, right? It's to stumble, to fall, to ask questions. Like, it's literally our journey. That's what it means to be. I do feel like we are spiritual. Like, our true essence, we are spiritual, right? We're spiritual beings. And this is just, 100%. A vessel, how we use that, like, terminology, right?
It is.
So, which in addition to that, like, we also have to take care of this vessel, right? Like, we still have to take care of our health.
It says it in spiritual texts. Take care of your temple. Like, take care of your temple. And I say that all the time. Like, the way that you take care of your surroundings, even, like, what you're around, like, it's all temporary, totally. But the way that you take care of yourself, the way you take care, it's like spiritual hygiene reflects outward as well. Like, once you're good, your office is clean, your kitchen is clean, your
Yeah.
things are put away, your things are in order. There's almost like a order and
There is an
cleanliness that
order.
comes.
There
And
is a divine
it's
order, totally.
beautiful. It's you move with a lot more kindness, a lot more
Mhm.
compassion. And I think back to like my days where I was like I had drifted away from my creator. Like I think of that time in my life and I was really lost. I was really
Mhm.
lost, and I was very much a version of me that helped me get to where I am. So I'm grateful
Mhm.
for her.
Yeah.
But she was a little rough around the edges. I was like, she she could have prayed a little bit more. But I think that there's like moments that I think back to when I was kind of like in this lost place, and a part of me is still in a lost phase. Not lost in the sense of like I'm spiritually lost completely, but
Mhm.
I think I'm like in this beautiful lost of like curiosity and like understanding and knowledge and
Mhm.
enlightenment. But I think that God gives you clarity, and God gives you like that same faith that I had at 11 years old of like, no, we're going to get through this. Like, I know we're going to get through this. It's the
Mhm.
same feeling I have now where I'm like, God has everything planned out, but he also gave us free will, and that's beautiful.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
we get to choose. Like, yes, he knows it's going to happen, but like again, like the story of Adam and Eve, right? Like
Yeah.
God knew it was going to happen.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean
Mhm.
that Adam had to choose that direction. You know what I mean? It still
Mhm.
meant Adam had a free will. He could have said no to that apple. He could have. He still gave us free will. So I
Right.
think of that. I think of that, right? I'm like, God is the best planner. He has everything laid out perfectly,
Mm.
divinely, but he still gave us access to our free will and
We still have the
access
choices. Yeah.
to move the
Everybody
way.
got
And that's
choices.
beautiful. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's like a beautiful
Yeah.
thing to know, like God got me, and I also can move
Mhm.
accordingly.
Mhm. It's so true. Yeah, I think about all the things that have happened, especially in the last like 5 or 6 years. I'm like, it's a miracle that I'm alive. So I'm gonna
Girl.
say, you know what I mean? I'm like,
And
I'm
there's
gonna
a
say God is real.
reason.
God is really real. Yeah. He's
Man,
like,
God is real.
it's
And I
truly like so
feel
many things.
it.
So
I
many, yeah,
feel
like so
it.
many things have happened, like crazy things that I'm like, I know that I know, right? Like I know in my literally like in my spirit, in my bones that God was shielding me,
Mm.
protecting me because there's
Oh,
no way I would have made it out alive, right? And it's wild. It is
isn't
very
that so
crazy. And that's
beautiful
the thing.
though? That's so
It's amazing.
beautiful.
It is. It's very powerful. It's amazing. And we use the terminology of like testimony and things like that.
Hmm.
And I feel like as much as I may try to like explain it to somebody or share it with somebody, it's almost like it has to be experienced. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like it's
Yeah.
almost like a person has to experience it, or even like a taste of that, because you know
Yeah.
I can tell what's happened to me all day every day and 1,000 times. But if the person's not ready, right, if the person's not ready or still doesn't believe it, like you said, free will, right?
And
It's
that's
free
the
will.
thing. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that I like. People ask me all the time, like, what are you? Like, are you Christian? Are you Catholic? Are you this? Are you that? And I have a hard time answering because I'm still in this process of enlightenment, right? But I
Yeah.
think that I have always been really careful of being performative. I've never wanted
Mm.
to be like, "Oh, I'm Christian, yeah,
The
but
labels,
I
yeah.
don't go to church. I don't really do,
Sure.
I've
Yeah.
always been fearful of just saying a name to say it.
Mindful of that.
And
Mhm. Good for
yeah,
you.
and like
Yeah.
if you want to label me something, I'm like, you can label me Christian. That's definitely what I think I relate to the most.
Yeah.
But I think that I speaking of religion, I think that sometimes you get caught up in the right way to do things. And
Yes.
yes, you have to experience it, but you have to yearn for it. And that's the thing. I
Mhm.
grew up Christian. I grew up in this church. I grew up
Mhm.
so fearful of God, and I'm grateful for that, like a hundred
Mm.
thousand million percent. I also think that now I have agency and I have the
Mhm.
ability to really like have God guide me on this journey of
Yeah.
finding him. And
Yeah.
again, going back to the source and figuring out, like, I don't feel like I even really read the Bible growing up. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I
Neither
went to
did
church,
I.
but you know what I mean? And like reading it
Yeah.
is so enlightening. I'm like, oh, so this
Yes.
is all just some like family drama. That's what it feels like. I'm like, okay, so
essentially.
Abraham did this. Okay, so that's where the disconnect happened. But like
Exactly.
understanding spiritual text is so liberating at the same time.
It is.
It makes
Yeah.
things make sense. And I wanted to address your point of like you have to experience it. I
Mm-hmm.
think first you have to yearn for it, because
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of us don't go through an experience that, you know, either is traumatized, like, you know, like yes, I was homeless and I was like able to connect with God in that way as well. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes like now in my time, in my life, I feel like I'm yearning for him in a way that I've never
It's
yearned for
beautiful.
God before. And I think that that's why I'm so careful of being performative, because I'm like, God, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm still in this process of getting to know you and getting to know
Mm-hmm.
like your text that you blessed us with. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
getting to know you slowly. And
Yeah.
so it's almost like, am I ready to call you boyfriend? It's almost like that. It's almost like, am I ready for this?
Oh
But it's
my gosh.
really
I love
like
it.
allowing myself to be guided. But
Yeah.
I say you have to just yearn for it, because when you yearn for it, you realize that fear and faith
Mm-hmm.
are working in opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And if you,
Totally.
I mean, they both are the same thing. Like they both require you to believe in something you don't see. And
Mm-hmm.
so back to 11-year-old me, who inspires me a lot, like 11-year-old me
Oh.
who was in that moment, who was like, I could be really scared. Like I could be really scared because I could not have a home for as long as
Mm.
however long, you know? And I could be in a situation where my family's like destroyed and broken and I'm the youngest one kind of seeing everything unfold. I
Yeah.
could be in a place of fear, but 11-year-old me chose to be in a place of faith. And so that's how I
It's
feel like I'm
beautiful.
approaching life now. I'm like, 11-year-old me knew. She's like, okay, like we gonna lean into faith, because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, what's the alternative? Just live in fear. And especially right
Mm-hmm.
now in the world that we're living in, and sorry I'm
Mm-hmm.
yapping, but
No, no, it's amazing.
in the
Mm-hmm.
world that we're living in right now, it's so easy to lean into fear. It's so easy to
Absolutely.
like collapse under chaos and collapse and just be like, well, no quiero ser nada. Like I just want to be like, you know, wrapped up
Yeah.
in a blanket y no hacer
Yeah.
completamente nada.
Hiding in bed forever. Yeah, exactly.
But I
Yeah.
think when we lean into faith and we know like God put us on this planet at this time for a reason.
Mm.
And
Right.
the word that you use, we are a vessel. Like our
Mm-hmm.
bodies are a vessel, our voice is a vessel, the
Mm-hmm.
place that we're in, the community that we're in, it's a vessel for us to do good, to do
Mm-hmm.
better. And I think that if we don't have faith, like man, we can lean into fear and lean in all the way, and
Yeah.
it really messes up.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's so well said. And it's so true. We're thinking about prophets, right? Prophets were never welcome in their own
Oh,
hometown.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No one wanted to hear about them. Like, you're crazy,
Nobody.
whatever. Like, nobody wanted
Right.
to hear. But God's like, keep going. Keep saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's that. But oh my gosh, I love everything that you shared, Lalies. So you kind of touched on it for a moment, in terms of like looking back, that it really is literally faith over fear, right? That
Mm-hmm.
is kind of what helped you get through really tough times with your family. I'm so sorry
Yeah.
that your family experienced homeless,
Mm-hmm.
not having a home and
It
stuff
made
for a
us
time.
better.
It's
Made us better.
yeah, I mean that's intense. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely like an
Mm-hmm.
intense
Oh
moment.
yeah.
But yeah. But I was gonna ask you, like, is there any other kind of like, yeah, like other advice you'd like to share to young people today? Because I feel for young people today. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine being
My lord.
in middle school or high school right now. Oh Lord, have mercy. It's brutal. Like, it is just a brutal time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say we had it easy as pie when I was in school, but like it's just this. It's getting like ever more intense. I feel like there's just like
Mm.
a lot of added pressures, a lot of I don't know, unnecessary
A
negativity,
lot.
however you want to call it. But
Anxiety. A lot of anxiety in young
anxiety,
people.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Yeah. Is there advice you would give like young Latinas today?
Oh, young Latinas. A few things. One,
Mm,
the first thing that comes to my mind is I think in a world that thrives on hatred and thrives
mhm,
on chaos and overworking you so that you feel exhausted to do anything.
mhm,
I think in
mhm,
a world that thrives off of capitalism and colonialism and
mhm,
all of those things, I
mhm,
think this now more than ever is when we need love. And not to sound like
Yeah.
kumbaya, like let's all love each other. It's deeper
Yeah.
than that. It's
Love
deeper
and
than that.
light,
I
you know.
think no,
Yeah.
it's not. No, it's
I
definitely not
get
that.
I get you. I get you. Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
get you. I totally know what you mean.
I'm like
Yeah.
definitely not that energy. But I think love is really what is missing right now. Love for the
Mhm.
neighbor, love for, and
Yes. Oh my God.
if you go back to these spiritual texts, that's what it's all grounded in, is love for your neighbor,
Love of
compassion
neighbor.
for your neighbor,
Yeah.
love for the family, love for your
Mhm.
community, love for your people, love for the people who don't look like you,
Mhm.
who may not like come from the same places, but like we have the same struggle. What did I say about Southeast? Like Southeast
Yes.
had a bunch of people who were
Yeah.
all different colors and sazones, but we had a common struggle of socioeconomics. So we were
Mhm.
able to just be there for each other.
Yeah.
And La Vecina, the neighbor, always came over with sugar and we always gave her coffee. And there was a mutual
Sweet.
exchange of love and kindness.
Yeah.
And I think that love is missing. And if you think about what love is, God is love. And I think that's
Mhm.
what's missing is God. And
Oh,
I really encourage young
amazing.
people to tap into their divine, tap into their source, tap into their
Mhm.
creator, and embody love, embody compassion, so that when people see you, they see the God in you, they see compassion, they see love, they see
Mhm.
kindness, and they see a world that they want to be a part of. That's one.
Amazing.
Speaking of love, I think that whenever there's hard times, there's still love for romantic relationships or relationship with your friends. I
Mm.
think that
Yeah.
a lot of young people, including my generation, I think there's a lot of people struggling with love and connection.
Yeah.
And
Oh
in a
yeah.
world
The dating scene. Ooh.
when it's
Hot
all
mess.
digital,
Hot
I think,
mess. Yeah.
girl, but I think in a world that's all digital and that's supposed to make us more connected, we are more disconnected than
Disconnected.
ever.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
it comes back to connecting to self, connecting to your divine, and connecting with
Mhm.
people. Like, put yourself out
Like
there.
actually
Like,
connecting to people. Yeah.
connect with people, and don't make it
Yeah.
a checklist. Don't make it like you have to be 6'5", you have to be this, you have to be
Oh
that.
Lord.
Like, just put
Looking for a
yourself
man in
out there.
finance. Like
Girl, like even in hard times, people were loving each other. So
right.
love.
Yeah.
Last
Amazing.
thing I'll
Oh.
say is if your art is not disrupting, if it's not making some movement, some noise, and I'm not saying
Mhm.
like, oh, you have to have 2 million followers. Like I'm saying if it's not disrupting something, then it's adding to the narrative. So what narrative are you putting out there? And so I
Mhm.
say that because Latinas, I think we are in a trap sometimes about who we
Mm.
are, what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to
Wow.
be Latina enough, and how we're supposed to be a woman,
Right.
una mujer. But I think that it's time to challenge some of these patriarchal roles that we have
Mhm. Mhm.
and lean
Mhm.
into whatever you want to be. Si tú quieres ser
Mhm.
la que cocina, la que limpia, la que es la mujer de la casa,
Mhm.
beautiful.
That's fine.
Continue
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
If you want to
Exactly.
be both, if you want to be the one that is at home and also working, do that. If you want to be the one that's working, do that. If you don't want kids, do that. If you want kids, do it.
Yes.
Like I think
Yes.
that
Oh my
there's so
God.
much pressure
Exactly.
on young Latinas, so much. I
Oh.
think I want Latinas to find their narrative and I want them to be inspired by the women we have in our
Mhm.
community. We have some dope women in
Mhm.
the community. And I think
Yeah.
if we can tap into community, into other
Mhm.
Latinas that are doing it different, that are doing it maybe even traditional, like tap into it and
Mhm.
know that whatever you choose, it's okay. Keep dreaming and keep creating a life that is yours and solely yours.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. I want to echo that 10,000%. And
Mm-hmm.
I really want to encourage people. It is so critical to look within, right? In other words, like you got to silence the media voices. You got to even silence like relatives,
Mm-hmm.
friends, what they're
Mm.
telling you. Oh, you're not married yet? Oh, you have kids? Oh, but whatever little chismes,
Mujer.
whatever is happening, right? All that, right? It's
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to take a moment to really look within and be like, but what do I want?
Mm.
What do I
Mm.
want? Do I want to go have a little farm and have my cattle and whatever and have 10 kids? Great. Awesome.
Dale.
Go for it. Do I want to go, do I
Yes.
want to live in New York, big city life?
Mm.
Maybe get married, no kids, be CEO, boss. Excellent. Right?
Mm.
Whatever, right? In other words, whatever your dream is, go for it. But that's the
Yeah.
thing. I think all of us, so many of us, we really get caught up in making other people happy,
Yeah.
in fulfilling
Yeah.
other people's checklists. I call it the checklist, right? I
It
call it the
is.
checklist.
It is.
Go to college, get married, pop out some kids, get a house, not to be vulgar, but really that's kind of like what we're all
Yeah.
sort of, I don't know, like drinking the Kool-Aid to do.
But listen, I
And
think
it's,
that when we see ourselves through other people's eyes, whether it's your cultural values, your societal values, when we see ourselves in that mirror, then we're never going to be enough. But when we see ourselves in the way God looks at us, the way our creator created us, when we see ourselves through divine eyes, I think the world looks different and we move different, knowing that we're divinely connected and we have God guiding us. Like, what else do we need? We don't need society telling us we need to be this or this or that. We don't need culture telling us we need this and this and that. Like, we have a divine source. And he gave us some rules. Like, we, not rules in terms of like this we got to do, but what a beautiful thing to be a woman. And I never really felt like that before. I was like, man, I gotta be a woman. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I'm like, okay, what a beautiful thing to be a woman. What a beautiful thing to be a Latina woman in this moment, because I do have choice. I am able to do the things that I want to do. I am able to create this business. Like, shout out to my mom and my abuelita who were working super hard to make that happen for me. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely.
We have a power of choice, and talking about free will, right? Like, we have a power of choice, and also it's no mistake where we are. Like, it's no mistake that I'm a Latina woman above all things. Like, I'm like, I love that I came from unos modales que son diferentes. I love that I have this different flair to me. There's cycles that I want to break, and there's cycles that I want to continue. And it's a power of choice. But I think that when we see ourselves through other people's expectations, we're never going to be enough. We're never going to be enough. It's always going to be like, oh, okay, I have a wrinkle right here. Or, oh, my hair needs to be thicker. Or, oh, I need to be married. I'm wasting time. Like, it's always going to be a rush. It's always going to be comparison. And I'm like, man, just see yourself the way God sees you. And know deep down, you got to be so good with yourself. And I don't mean that like self-love, like get my face routine, like that too. But it's also, you got to be so good. You got to love yourself so deeply, else you will not recognize love when it comes your way.
That's step one. It's true. It's true. Like, if you don't love yourself, how the hell do you love anybody else? I think that was RuPaul who said that. But it's true. It's true. You got to love, you really do have to love yourself first, flaws and all. No one's perfect, but getting to a point of like loving oneself, self-acceptance. And that means, like, yes, we're all a work in progress. Like, all of us have things that we're working on and, things like that. And it's great. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. This was fantastic. Thank you, Odalys. Oh, this was a lovely conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this space. And thank you for talking about something that I don't feel like our community talks about enough. So I love this.
Yay. Thank you. Oh, this was super fun. Thank you so much. So, Odalys Jasmine, make sure to check out her podcast, Her Latino. I'll make sure to link the information in the notes. And thank you, everyone who's listening. Again, this is the Gold Hoops and God podcast, and I'm your host.
I brought my gold hoops for you, girl.
Yes, girl. Thank you.
You feel me?
Awesome. Yes. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Yay. Folks can find this episode everywhere that you stream your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and all the rest. And then the video of the interview will be available on Wednesday on YouTube at 1:11 p.m. Pacific. I love my angel numbers. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ciao.